Night shift workers know that 3 to 4 a.m. are the quietest hours. Until that night when the security cameras caught something that changed everything. Sarah had been working the night shift at the Shell gas station on County Road for about a year. For the 22-year-old, this job was perfect. Quiet, predictable, and she didn't have to deal with too many customers. Most nights, only a few truck drivers and occasional late travelers stopping for gas would come through. The gas station was located in a small town. The single-story, white-painted building housed a convenience store, 2 gas pumps, and the cashier area where Sarah worked. Behind the building was a staff break room and a small storage area. Most importantly, security cameras covered every corner. One monitored the parking area. Others watched the pumps and the inside of the store. Sarah trusted the security cameras, especially during the nights when she worked alone. The cameras gave her a sense of security. Every hour she would check the monitors, watching passing cars and customers waiting in the parking area. Thursday night at exactly 11:30 p.m. when she started her shift, everything was normal. The cameras were working, the parking area was empty, and the road was quiet. Sarah began her routine, checked the registers, organized the shelves, and glanced at the security monitor. At 12:45 a.m., her first customer arrived, a middle-aged truck driver. He bought coffee and filled up with gas. He politely said good morning to Sarah and continued on his way. Everything was normal. At 2:15 a.m., however, a different vehicle parked. A dark-colored sedan had parked far enough away that she couldn't see its license plate. Sarah watched from the security camera. Someone was clearly sitting in the car, but she couldn't make out who it was. The engine was running. Sarah waited. Usually customers would get out within a few minutes and come inside, but this person wasn't getting out. They were just sitting there. Sarah continued watching the car on the monitor. 15 minutes passed, and the person still hadn't gotten out. Sarah began to feel uneasy. She picked up her phone, thinking about calling 911, but then decided against it. Maybe the person was just resting, she thought. Maybe they were on a long trip and taking a break. At 2:35 a.m., the car quietly drove away. Sarah felt relieved. She watched on the monitor as the car disappeared down the road. Everything had returned to normal. The next night, Friday, at the same time, the same car returned. This time, Sarah watched more carefully. The car had parked in the same spot again, at a point distant from the camera. The person inside still wasn't getting out. They were just sitting there. This time, Sarah decided to gather courage and go outside. But the moment she opened the door, the car began to move. As if it knew Sarah was about to come out. The car quickly drove away. Sarah's stomach turned. This couldn't be a coincidence. Saturday night, before Sarah came to work, she thought for a long time. Maybe she should change jobs. Maybe this was just paranoia. But she held on until that night. At 2 a.m., the car came again. This time, Sarah was ready. Phone in hand, ready to call 911, she watched the monitors. The car had parked in its usual spot. At 2:30 a.m., what Sarah noticed froze her blood. There was no longer anyone in the car, but the car was still parked there, engine running. The person inside must have gotten out, but Sarah couldn't see them on any camera. Sarah panicked. She locked the doors and called 911. She tried to explain the situation to the operator, but the fear was evident in her voice. There's no one here, but the car is sitting empty, and I can't see the person who is inside on any of the cameras. Police arrived 15 minutes later. Sarah watched the officers through the cameras. 2 police officers checked the vehicle. The car was indeed empty. The engine was running. The doors were open, but no one was inside. One of the officers came to Sarah. We ran the plates. The car was reported stolen 3 days ago. The owner left his car in a downtown parking lot, and it was gone the next day. Sarah's hands were shaking. Where is the person who was inside? The officer shrugged. We don't know, but we checked around. No one's here. Maybe they walked away. But Sarah knew this wasn't possible. The cameras covered every angle. No one could leave there without being seen. After the police left, Sarah reviewed the security camera footage again. She watched the footage from 2 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. over and over again, and then she saw it. In the recording at 2:17 a.m., a shadow was moving behind the building, very fast, almost invisible, but it was there. The shadow was circling the building and moving to the other side of the parking area. That was the camera's blind spot. Sarah's breath caught. This person, every night they came, was actually getting out of their car and exploring around the building, watching Sarah studying the gas station. Sarah left work early that night. She spent the next week filing reports and applied for another job. But the story doesn't end here. 2 months later, while Sarah was working at her new job, she was watching one of the local news programs. The news was talking about the Shell gas station on County Road. The new night shift worker at the gas station had disappeared. He was last seen on security cameras at 2:30 a.m. After that, he vanished without a trace. Sarah's blood ran cold. On television, she could see the gas station where she used to work, and there was one more detail in the news. A few days before the missing person was found, an abandoned car had been discovered near the gas station, a stolen sedan. Sarah didn't sleep at all that night, and she still checks her windows every night before going to bed, locks her doors, because she knew that person, whoever they were, was still out there somewhere, and maybe looking for new targets. Watching Sarah studying the gas station. Sarah left work early that night. She spent the next week filing reports and applied for another job. But the story doesn't end here. 2 months later, while Sarah was working at her new job, she was watching one of the local news programs. The news was talking about the Shell gas station on County Road. The new night shift worker at the gas station had disappeared. He was last seen on security cameras at 2:30 a.m. After that, he vanished without a trace. Sarah's blood ran cold. On television, she could see the gas station where she used to work, and there was one more detail in the news. A few days before the missing person was found, an abandoned car had been discovered near the gas station, a stolen sedan. Sarah didn't sleep at all that night, and she still checks her windows every night before going to bed, locks her doors, because she knew that person, whoever they were, was still out there somewhere, and maybe looking for new targets.